In this video, I'm going to show you exactly how I was able to get $385,000 in business funding at the age of 21 years old, which allowed me to scale up my Amazon e-commerce business from zero to $900,000 in sales within my first year, and also allowing me to scale that same business to over $7 million in revenue over the last couple of years. So if you're a business owner and you clicked on this video, you're probably looking to scale your company even further utilizing some leverage. So in this video, I'm going to take you through exactly step by step exactly what I did to get that $385,000 in business funding without giving up any equity, paying a dime in interest, or ruining my personal credit score. So like I said, you're in for a treat, and let's get right into it. Okay, so now I have my screen pulled up, and I'm going to show you exactly step by step how I was able to get $385,000 in business credit or business funding at the age of 21 years old. And I'm going to show you exactly how you can do this for your company like I did with mine. We personally scaled my company from around $20,000 a month in revenue all the way up to $400,000 a month in revenue in just a few short years with this business credit and this business funding I'm going to show you how to get on your own in this free course. So let's get right into it. We're going to go to the first tab, the intro tab. So like I just said, how I scaled my company from $20,000 a month in revenue all the way up to $400,000 a month in revenue, utilizing the $385,000 in business credit and business limits and 0% APR cards I was able to get at 21 years old. And I'm going to share with you the exact systems I now use to help other business owners secure between $50,000 to $250,000 in growth capital without giving up any equity or ruining their personal credit score. So let's zoom in and I'll take you right through it. So like I just said, 20,000 a month in revenue all the way up to 400,000. And if we zoom in a little further, this is a screenshot from March of 2023. This is around $8,500 in revenue in a single week within my business. Like I said, in March 2023, that was before any business funding, any credit or anything. I was purely running cash and debit cards within the business. And then this was this recent December 1st to 16th, so 16 days in December 2025, we were able to do $362,000 in revenue just a few months ago. And then between the rest of December and then other sales channels such as like Walmart, eBay, StockX Go, I was able to do around $650,000 in revenue in a single month. And again, that was all thanks to the business credit and the business funding I was able to get and able to reinvest the profits to continually scale this business for me. And if we go down a little further, this was around the early days. I think this was like the same month, March 2023. I was shipping boxes and inventory to my home. I was running the business completely on cash. I was using no leverage. I was just getting the proof of concept. I was making sure the business was profitable. That way, one day I could scale the company up to, this is December 23. I was able to scale the company from just a couple of boxes here to around 400 orders in a single day, just like 9 months later. And we were able to do $150,000 to $170,000 a month in revenue that December, just again 9 months later. And in the picture in the middle right here, this is actually like a business wedding. My friend in the middle, that's Garrett. I was at his wedding, and believe it or not, most of these guys here in this video, they're all Amazon or e-com sellers, and they all utilize some type of leverage or credit in their business to help them scale even quicker without giving up any equity or giving up or hurting their personal credit score. So I thought that was pretty cool. So I wanted to include that. But again, who's this course for? Who should be watching this? This is for established business owners with the proven business that's already profitable, and they're looking for more capital to scale. So like I showed you earlier here, I was doing 8,500 a week in revenue roughly. I was very profitable, but I just needed more capital and more leverage in order to blow this business up to, getting 400 orders in a day or doing 600,000, 650,000 a month in revenue. I just needed that extra leverage to take me to the next level. And then, like I mentioned already, I've personally gotten myself $385,000 in business credit limits, and I've directly helped my Amazon coaching students 20x their business and help them unlock credits to scale their business as well. And then most importantly, who is this not for? This is for people without an established business who's maybe they haven't even started their business yet, but they want credit funding. I wouldn't recommend it, to be honest. It just adds way more risk to the company. And this is not for people with low credit scores. This is going to be people with a 700 credit score or better with established businesses like myself at the time of March of 2023. And they just need a little bit more fuel to the fire and a little bit more funding and access to capital to completely blow up their business that's already proven and already profitable, like I mentioned. And then as you can see, $385,000 in credit limits, like I mentioned. And then I have a 763 credit score at the moment. And then why am I even doing this? It's because YouTube's filled with horrible and then minimal information about credit and business credit and how you're able to use it effectively and how to utilize it effectively. There's a lot of information on like personal credit or travel hacking. This isn't that. This is how to scale your business effectively, how to get very good limits for your business so you can, get some leverage in order to scale. And then I already scaled my already profitable Amazon business that was already profitable for years, even quicker by utilizing the power of credit and leverage to scale. And then I personally helped my coaching student 20x his business and got him around $100,000 in 0% APR funding. And then I want to help other entrepreneurs accelerate their growth quicker and learn from the mistakes I made. I personally was running a cash-based business, just debit cards and then whatever money I had in the bank to buy inventory, and scale for 3 years. And that's why I wasn't able to hit these big revenue numbers until I added some leverage to scale quicker. And if I could go back, I would 100% redo that and try to figure out business credit or try to get some access to some leverage a lot quicker. And then the fun part too, I'll show you how I'm able to take first class flights and travel all over the US and take some trips to a couple different countries. Again, all paid for and all first class, utilizing the business credit points we're able to get from these credit cards and these limits I'm going to show you soon. And then what I'm going to teach you in this video, I'm going to show you credit cards and credit card need to know. So like things you need to know about credit cards, business credit, personal credit, which credit cards are the best. Like I said, personal credit versus business credit, how I travel for free, and so much more. So be sure to stick around. I'm going to go through everything, and this is going to be super helpful for you in growing your business because there's no other video on YouTube or on the internet like this one. Okay, so we have the second frame pulled up now. Why is business credit even important? And like I hinted and alluded to in the intro of this video, I was able to absolutely blow up and 20x my personal Amazon company from doing around 20 to 25,000 a month in revenue, a full cash-based business. I was using only debit cards, no credit cards. It was only the cash I had in the business. I was waiting for disbursements from Amazon. I would take that money and reinvest. I was utilizing no leverage or no 0% APR cards or no extended payback periods. And yeah, I was only able to get to, and I kind of plateaued at around 20 to 25,000 a month in revenue. You can see a tweet I have here from January of 2023. We were stuck at that 20 to 25,000 a month in revenue from around December of 2022 all the way up to March of 2023. So around 4 months stuck at the same revenue before I decided it was time to go get some business credit, some business funding, and add some leverage to my already proven model and proven business model. That's extremely important. You don't want to do this with an unproven model. You don't want to just take money from the bank and go start a business. You want a proven model that's already profitable, and you just want to add a bit more fuel to the fire, right? And then as soon as I did start implementing credit into my business around March, April of 2023, 8 short months later in August 2023, I was able to hit my first $100,000 revenue month in August of 2023, utilizing that business credit. And like I said, I never used business funding in my sneaker reselling business, which is what I did prior to Amazon. And then 9 months into Amazon, I didn't use any funding at all, and I got stuck for 4 months, like I said. But if we fast forward to present day now, this was a good little couple day run we had in just last month. We had a $14,000 day, $20,000 day, $15,000 day, $13,000 day, and as you can see, multiple $1,000 profit days just last month in a couple day run. That's like basically like when I got business credit, everything changed for my business. I was able to buy more products. I was able to restock faster. I was able to take advantage of those 0% APR cards to buy more inventory and leverage a little bit more, and go make those purchase orders and always have inventory in stock, which elevated my numbers. So it's actually crazy to show you guys now. Like I had a $20,000 day in just last month, right? But if we go all the way back here, I was only doing around 20,000 a month or 25,000 a month in revenue in a single month just a few years ago, right? So that can just goes to show you how crazy and helpful business credit could be. And then let's just take a brief look at the alternatives. So an SBA loan is a government-backed loan, and those typically range between 10 to 15% APR. But the problem is you typically need an already profitable business or good business plan, and they require loads of docs from you and personal guarantees and everything. But overall, it is a decently fair APR. It's just very hard to get with all the documents and everything you have to apply for, and it's not a quick process at all. The other option is MCA, which is merchant cash advance. Those are extremely predatory. There's a lot of Amazon loans like this, or there's a lot of credit card or merchant cash advance options like this, but they're typically 40 to 80% APR. They're extremely predatory. They try to get you when you're in a pinch for you to take the money, but then you're going to owe a whole lot of interest on top. But the best option here, and that's what I'm kind of talking about in this free course and what helped me and my students scale, is the 0% APR credit cards. And why is it helpful? is because compared to these 10 to 15% APRs and 40 to 80%, it's 0% for the first 12 to 21 months. So if you need to go get some more inventory, or what I basically did was I only put inventory on those credit cards. It helped me have a lot more inventory in stock to go sell every single day in order to grow my Amazon business. Like I showed you, like right here, we literally went from 25,000 a month in revenue, and then a couple short years later, utilizing this business funding and continually growing the business, we were able to have a $20,000 day, and then we typically do around $10,000 to $15,000 a day right now on a normal any given day. Okay, so now you have my intro, my business, and I explain why credit is even important for most businesses. So this part, I'm going to cover all the basics. I'll tell you what credit score even is, how the score works, and what the words all really mean. The really simple stuff. And if you don't know any of this, don't worry. That's what this section is for. I just want to get you guys aware before we go into, more high level stuff. So what is the credit score actually? It's just a 3-digit number from 300 to 850. And if we zoom into this little graphic, from 300 to 560 is considered bad. 560 to 650 is considered bad. And then 650 to 700 is fair. 700 to 750 is good. And then 750 plus is considered excellent. So like I said, right here, anything over 700 is considered good. And then what your score really means, it just tells the bank how good are you with borrowed money. Are you trustworthy or not? The lower the score is, the less they're going to trust you and give you good limits. The higher your score is, the more they're going to trust you, the more they're going to be able to throw money at you. And like I said here as well, the higher the score is, the more doors it's going to open for you. It's going to open the doors to higher credit limits, business funding, lines of credits, and things of that nature. So your credit score is pretty important as a business owner. And I'm going to tell you exactly what makes up your credit score here. So of the 100% pie of the credit score, 30% of it comes down to your amount owed. 10% is going to be new credit accumulation. So the number of credit inquiries and new lines you open in the last 12 to 18 months. 10% is going to be the type of credit. So responsibly handle a mix of credit, installment loans, raises scores, while revolving loans tend to lower scores, right? And then 35% of your credit score is going to be your payment history. Have you missed payments? Have you always been on time? So if you've missed payments before, it's obviously going to lower your credit score over time. And if you're 100% accurate, and if you never had a late payment, then your credit score is obviously going to be better, right? And then 15%, the final 15% of the 100% pie of your credit score is going to be the length of your credit. So the amount of time you've had credit established. Typically, the older people have better credits, the length of their credit, obviously, because they've had credit for a lot longer than some of the younger business owners you might see online. But scroll down, we'll talk about the terminologies now. So terminologies, a soft inquiry is when a credit company, so like let's say Amex, Chase, or whatever, you go to apply for a credit card. A soft inquiry is when they're going to check your credit score, but they're not going to report it as an inquiry, which is not going to lower your score. A hard inquiry is when they check your credit and they report it as well. So that's just telling like the credit bureaus that you're opening up a credit card and you submitted an application for a credit card, and that's going to be a hard inquiry telling the credit bureaus that you just applied for a credit card or a loan or a car or whatever. Utilization is the amount of credit you're using in comparison to your limit. So if you have a 10K limit on your credit card, you use 5,000 and you spend it, and that's what hits the statement when the credit statement closes. That's going to be a 50% usage. If you only spent $1,000, that'll be a 10% usage. Okay, and then APR, just the percent of interest you're paying on those credit cards per year. So typically credit cards are between like 20 to 25%. And then credit mix, like we mentioned above, is just like the mix of credit you have between like loans, credit cards, and different installments you might have on your credit report. And then account age is just how old your credit is. When was the first time you guys got a credit card to now? And that's going to be your credit age. So the longer you have credit age and the longer you've had credit cards for, the better it's going to be for your score. So that's just some brief terminology I want to go over with you guys here. Next, if we come over, we have 3 credit bureaus. So there's actually not just one credit score. There's 3 of them, and they all come from 3 different companies. So if you're not familiar already, don't worry. That's why we have this section. But a credit bureau is just a company that tracks all of your credit. That's all it does. They watch your credit cards, your loans, and your payments, and they give you a score every single month. We have Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax. So Experian is the biggest one, and they track over 220 million Americans. And then this is the one they check when you go to buy a car or get a personal loan. The bank usually pulls this report, is the Experian one. TransUnion is the credit card one. A lot of credit card companies pull this one, including business credit cards. So when you're applying for these credit cards, like I'm mentioning in this free course, they're typically going to track your TransUnion one. And then the last one is Equifax. This is the oldest one. It's been around since 1899. They're big in mortgages, business credit, and they even do background checks. So there's 3 different credit bureaus. I would get familiar with them: Experian, TransUnion, Equifax, and they all report. And you have multiple different credit scores with each different, or you have one credit score with each different company. So you actually have 3 credit scores from 3 different bureaus, and they're all used for different reasons, like I mentioned. But yeah, that's not too complicated at all. If we just keep going, okay, now we have personal versus business credit. We have personal credit cards on the left, business credit cards on the right. All right, so personal credits, they typically, or they do report to your credit score. So they'll report your utilization at the end of the month if you're paying your cards on time, and things of that nature. They typically have between a 5 to 30K limit. They come with smaller sign up bonuses and less, perks, and they have like strict hard limits. As opposed to business credit cards, this does not report to your credit score unless you're delinquent on payments, like you're paying your credit cards off later, you're just not paying them at all. That's when they're going to report to your credit score. Otherwise, your utilization is good to go. It's not going to report to your personal credit score at all. That's typically why people get business credit cards, so they separate. And they also get business credit cards, like I'm mentioning in this free course as well, because they just have higher limits. So people like you and I, business owners, we can just get access to more money, so we can go put it towards the business to scale it up. And like I said, this typically comes between $20,000 to $100,000 in limits, and they normally come with huge sign-up bonuses and more flexible spend. So we'll get a little bit more into that in the next couple of slides, but typically the business credit cards have more flexible spend. Most of them don't have hard limits, and if they do, it's going to be in that 20 to 100K limit range, which is a lot more than the personal credit cards. And the personal credit cards have smaller limits, and then they have hard limits which you can't really go over. So that's like the big difference between the personal credit cards, are just these. But moving along. Okay, so the next section of this free course is going to be about 0% APR credit cards. So if you don't know what 0% APR credit cards is, don't worry, that's what this section is for. So basically, the 0% cards are just credit cards that the bank allows you to borrow money from anywhere from 12 to 21 months at completely interest-free if you pay back off the full amount before the timer runs out. So for example, if you have a credit card with a $100,000 limit and it's 12 months intro offer for 0% APR, that means you're going to pay absolutely no interest if you don't pay the card off in full every single month until after that 12 months is up. So if you want to utilize this to grow your business, this is personally how I personally grew my business, and I've helped my coaching students grow their business to allow them to buy more inventory and have more products available to sell on Amazon. This is super effective, and it's super cost effective compared to the other options because it's absolutely zero interest as long as you pay that card back in full at the end of the 12-month cycle or the 21-month cycle, depending on what card you get. And that's it. So if you do this effectively, you can basically just use the bank's money for completely free without paying any interest at all, which is huge and it's massive. And it's, it's a super big proponent of why I was able to scale and 20x my business, as I showed you earlier. And then there's a couple credit cards that actually do this. So it would be the Amex Business Cash, and then they have a Business Plus as well. There's the Chase Business Unlimited, the Chase Business Cash, Capital One 1.5% Spark, and then Bank of America has a card for this as well. And then there's a couple others, but these are typically just the most popular ones that business owners typically get. And then, so the way this works is, let's say we got 100,000 limit on one of these credit cards. So the way the 0% APR cards work is you don't have to pay off that full amount at the end of each month. It's only 10% due at the end of each month for no additional interest. So if you have a $100,000 credit card, 10,000 would be due at the end of the month, and that would be it. The rest of the 90% is completely interest-free, even if you don't pay it off in full, until after we get through that intro period, whether that's 12, 18, or 21 months is typically the 3 most common time frames that they give you this intro offer for. And then if we stack up the 0% APR cards versus like an SBA loan or MCA, Merchant Cash Advance loan, that we were talking about earlier, obviously the 0% APR credit cards work and are the most effective for your profitability and your ability to scale your business, because the 0% APR card, it's for 12 to 20 months at absolutely zero interest. So you pay no extra money as long as you pay it off at the end of the intro period. You'll pay absolutely no interest, as opposed to the SBA loan. You'll have to pay around 10 to 15% APR on an SBA loan, and then an MCA, again, very predatory. It's over 50%. So clearly the 0% APR credit cards work the best because you're gonna not have to pay any interest at all, and you're utilizing the bank's money to scale your business And like I said, that's what I did for my own business. That's what my coaching students did as well, to 20x or 10x or 5x, or just grow their business exponentially, right? So if we take into a real world example here, so a cash breakdown, if you calculate the ROI of being able to get this additional funding. So typically if people apply on their own, if they have a decent credit score, they'll probably be able to get anywhere from like 20 to 30K 0% APR. And if we look at this, I had actually Claude write this up for an example for us. But if you get like a 20K limit on that 0% APR and you use it for the full year and you have a 30% ROI in your business, you're going to be able to turn that 20K all the way to around 57K by the end of the year. If you're just utilizing that money and you get a 30%, return on your money, as opposed to if you were to go through me and my services that I offer, we have a done for you offer that I'll get into later in this video. But if you work with a professional or an expert at this, they're typically able to get you anywhere from 100 to 150% 0% APR credit limit just by, maximizing your profile and making sure everything looks good to the bank. But let's take the average of between 100 to 150K limit. So we'll take 125K starting, and then you were able to compound that 30%, right? Each quarter, you would be able to get to 125 to over 150 to over 200K. And then by the end of the year, you'd be able to turn your 125K into 357K, assuming you're getting a 30% ROI compounded over the course of a year. So this is how my business works. And that's why I gave you guys this example. 30% ROI is pretty common. And then like a quarter is pretty conservative for how fast you can turn over your full inventory. So we would be able to turn in 125K in 0% APR into right around 360,000, which is like you can just see how powerful this could be if you utilize it correctly. And if you get like, a high enough limit and you have a good proven business model, it could be super powerful and super effective to grow your business. Again, like I've done with my own. So hopefully that was informative for this section, but we're going to move on to the charge credit cards. So most people don't even know charge cards are even a thing. So they look exactly like a credit card, same shape, same logo, same swipe, everything's the same, but they work completely different. And it's for business owners. And for business owners, charge cards are kind of a cheat code. So the cheat code with charge cards is all of these cards have no preset spending limits. They're paid in full every single month, which is kind of the exact opposite of what we just talked about with the 0% APR cards. But they're super, super, super powerful because you can put massive purchases on them, big inventory orders, ad spend, supplier payments, and stuff you just like a normal credit card would just block. So these are like the powerhouse of your business if you were able to get some of these credit cards, because there's no preset spending limits, and this is typically where you do the most of your spending on. But like I said, they're paying full at the end of each month. And again, the benefits for them are they are higher spending powers. There's no impact on your credit score. There's better perks, but the trade-off is you do have to pay them off at the end of each month. So these are powerhouse cards where you should be able to get a decent limit. There's no preset spending limit, but again, the trade-off is you have to pay them off in full every single month, as opposed to the 0% APR card. If you work with someone who knows what they're talking about and they're an expert, they should be able to get you a good limit. But if not, you go on your own route, you probably will be able to get 20 or 30K in limits, which is not going to be as much as some of these cards. But if we scroll and we zoom into these credit cards, these are some examples of the charge cards. We have the Amex Business Gold, Amex Business Platinum, Capital One Venture X, Capital One Spark 2% Plus, and the Amex Plum, which is actually just discontinued, but I just want to show you guys an example of some charge cards. So additionally to the charge cards, like I said, they're for bigger spending, they're for, bigger purchase orders and whatever things you need of that nature for your business and whatever that may be, but they are paid in full at the end of each month, which again is not as effective as the 0% APR cards, but they do have, the benefits of not reporting to your personal cards, and there's better perks. So that's charge cards. I just want to go over that with you guys. Oh, and one last thing for this is they also learn your spending. So let's say you just get the credit card and they give you like a soft limit, which again, it says no preset spending limit, but every single card has a little soft limit because they can't let you spend unlimited money. But let's say you just get that Capital One Spark, is actually one I just got last year. If it's a 100K soft limit, these cards' jobs are to learn your spending as well. So like if you put 100K on this credit card and you pay it off in full at the end of this month, they might be able to give you, a bigger limit, 150, 200K, 250K soft limit if you continually max out your card and keep paying it. That shows the bank that you're a heavy spender, you have a lot of cash flow, and you're able to pay off your cards in full at the end of each month. So they're going to trust you a little bit more. So that's kind of how these charge cards work. But okay, so now we're going to get into exactly how my limits are broken down and how I got to that 385K credit limit I told you guys about in the beginning of this video. So let's get right into it. We're going to go through each card and yeah, I'll show you exactly what I have. So Capital One Spark Plus, this is the card I just mentioned in the last slide. This is a charge card, and if we zoom in a little bit further, we have an account summary and like a billing cycle thing, and you can see I put 100K on this card, 95K balance after whatever credits and payments I made. So for this card in particular, I have around anywhere from like 100 to 110, maybe upwards of like 120K limit. Again, this has no preset spending limit, but it does have like a soft limit where it stops letting you spend. Sometimes they let me spend a little bit more than 100K to like 110, 120, like I mentioned. Sometimes it just caps out at 100K. It's all about learning your spend, and it depends on month to month because they are no preset spending limits, and their job is to figure out your spend and your spending, like how you're spending your money. So next we have 10K in the Capital One Spark. This is a 0% APR card I was telling you guys about 2 slides ago, and I have a 10K limit here. So we have around 110K in Capital One business credit alone. And then if we move on to the Amex section here, I have the Amex Plum, which I actually got a couple years ago before it got discontinued. So I have around anywhere from like 75 to 100K limit on this card. And again, it is a charge card, so it is revolving. So let's just go with, typically it lets me spend around 100,000. And then next I do have the Amex Platinum as well. And again, that is a charge card. So there is no preset spending limit. So this is I put around 35K, and that's what's called. This is a payment made for 35K. This card typically lets me spend anywhere from 35 to 40K. Next, we have the Amex Business Blue, which if we zoom in, credit limit 10K. This is another 0% APR credit card, like I mentioned, and then that covers it for Amex. Next, we have Chase. We have the Chase Ink Premier, which is one of my favorite credit cards. It is a pay in full at the end of the each month. It's not a 0% APR card, but I do have 44,000 in limits on this card, and it's 2% cash back on all purchases across the boards, and 2.5% cash back on all purchases over 5,000. So I have to put in a big purchase order. If I'm spending a lot of money that day on inventory, we'll definitely get 5,000 or more, basically per transaction. So I get 2.5% cash back on that, and it's pretty sweet because when I pay off these cards every single month, I get a nice 2 to 2.5% cash back on any of the money I spend, and I can just redeem that for cash, which is nice. Next, we have 28,500 in the Chase Ink Unlimited. Here's a welcome to your Chase Ink Business 28.5K. Congrats, Sadiq. Yeah, so I have 28.5K on this card, which is a 0% APR card. Next is the World of Hyatt card, which is one of my favorite cards because of all the travel perks and everything. I have a 26K limit here. It is a pay in full at the end of each month. It is not a 0% APR card. But again, like I mentioned, we do a lot of spending for my business. So I just want to maximize that and take advantage of some travel benefits with this card. Next, we have my 28K in Chase Ink Cash card. This card's credit limit is around $28,000, and this is a 0% APR card that I currently have interest free. So I'm taking advantage of that, like I mentioned, for the business, just to be able to put inventory on, have inventory available at all times, buy like restock inventory, like just take advantage of these credit cards and all the benefits they give us to have as much inventory as humanly possible, because for me and my business, that means I'm able to sell more per day. I have more inventory available for the customers to buy, which in turn makes me more money. So if you add all this up, I also have like a few other credit cards, but they have pretty low limits, so I didn't even choose to include them. I just wanted to include the major three, the Capital Ones of the world, Amex and Chase. If you add all this up, it's around 385K, depending on where the charge cards land in their range. But yeah, so 385K, and I had this since I was 21 years old, turned 22 a few months ago, but I had all this by the time I was 21. So yeah, it was super, 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 super helpful for me scaling my business. But if we keep going, we're going to get into exactly how I use my credit in order to scale. So I keep telling you guys, I got high limits, I got 0% APR credit cards and all this stuff, but I'm going to show you real world example of how I personally scaled my own business using this funding, right? So if we zoom in right here, March 2023, like I mentioned before, I was doing around 20 to 25,000 a month in revenue. It was a full cash business. I had 0 credit cards. I didn't want to use any of it. It was full cash. That's what I ran this entire business on. all cash, all debit cards, no business credit cards, no 0% APR cards, no Plum card, nothing. Just my debit card from the bank and whatever money I had in the bank I could spend. That's how I treated it. That's how I did it. I didn't use any credit cards. I was only 19 at the time. But looking back, that was a huge mistake because as soon as I got credit, business credit, which was roughly around March 2023 and April 2023, just 5 months later, utilizing business credit, I was able to 4x my business from 25K a month all the way up to $100,000 a month using leverage. And again, I was comfortable using leverage and the 0% APR credit cards because I had 12 months to pay back the cards and I didn't have to worry about, oh, am I going to make this credit card payment? Oh, am I going to be late or whatever? Because I had plenty of time to sell through the inventory. But if we look at this, again, this was March of 2023. And then just 5 months later, I was able to have my first 100,000 month in revenue on Amazon by utilizing these credit cards that I got in around March and April, again, of 2023. And the first cards I did get was the Amex Plum, which is an extended payback period card. Again, discontinued, but it was super helpful for me front loading inventory. And then I got the Amex Business Blue, which allowed me, extended time to pay off that card and buy more inventory. So as you can see, that was already a pretty massive growth. Is 4x in just 5 months. I 4x'd my business just from business credit cards and leverage, but I already had a profitable business. Like I said, if you're just starting off and you're a brand new business owner, would not recommend this, to be honest. Wait till you have a proven model and you have money rolling in and your business is actually profitable. Just be responsible. It does add a lot of risk to your business, but if you know what you're doing and you have a good proven model, this can be super, 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 super effective to adding some fuel on the fire to really grow that thing up. But so we have March 2023, around 25,000 a month in revenue. August 2023, we have around 100,000 a month in revenue. And then a few short months later, December 2023, which is typically one of the better months for Amazon and e-com in general, I was able to do 150,000 in revenue in a single month by utilizing the credit and the profits I was making. So all the profits I was making off that additional credit, I was able to use. All the additional credit I was able to get, I would be able to profit even more money, which I kept reinvesting to grow the business. And then from March of 2023 all the way to December, which is around 9 months, I was able to take the business from 25K to 150K in revenue, which is a 6x just by utilizing credit and my ability to buy more inventory because I already knew it was working. I already had a proven model and all I wanted was more inventory and to buy more of the right stuff to make even more profit, which is exactly what I did here. And yeah, so if we keep going though in the story, so I took you from March, no credit. 5 months later, got to 100K a month in revenue. And then 9 months later from the March, I was able to 6x the business to 150K. But then July 2024, which is like a little bit over a year later, less than 18 months of using credit, I was able to grow the business to around 200,000 a month in revenue, which is almost like if we were doing 20 to 25K around this time, less than 18 months, I was able to 10x the business. And again, not saying you can do any of this. This is just my personal experience. And this is how I was able to grow my business. I'm just sharing my experience of how business credit affected my own business. But if we go to present day, right around now, or within the last couple of months, we have December of 2025. Like I showed you guys, we have December 2025. Sorry, we have a $31,000 day and another close to $30,000 day. We have a 5-figure profit day. We have a $7,000 profit day. And again, like I mentioned before, December is typically one of the better months for e-com all year, but it just goes to show you how powerful it is to have that credit ready to go. If you know what you're doing, if you have a good model, additional business credit can help you propel your business a little bit further. And then 2024, December, this was one of my biggest days ever. We have a 47.5K day. And again, another 5-figure profit day. And again, I think this was last month. This is 162K revenue week. So that's not profit, obviously. But we went from a 25K month to 100K month to 150K month to 200K per month. And then we're up to like 100 to 150, 160K a week in revenue now. And again, that was only in 2023. Like this is only a few short years later of me being able to leverage credit, make additional profits, keep the money in the business, be very responsible. And this is like a credit gone right. Like you can see a lot of people do and utilize business credit and they don't know what they're doing. Maybe they fund their new business venture with credit. No, that's not the way to do it. You're supposed to do it with a proven model that's already profitable and you're very confident in. And if you do it the right way, you can end up, potentially growing your business even further, like I have. Like this was a massive fuel on the fire for my business. And it can be for you as well. So okay, so next let's look at another real world example. Let's look at one of my coaching students who also 20x his own business, and he grew it from 7,000 a month in revenue all the way up to 150K in a single month with the funding we were able to get him. So let's zoom in and take a look. So this is his revenue screenshot, 7,000 in revenue in around June, the month of June in 2024. So he was at around 7,000 a month in revenue, and this is absolutely, it was zero business funding. Again, he was just running a full cash business, all debit, all of that stuff. And then 5 months later, into getting him some funding and some 0% APR cards, November 2024, he was able to do 50,000 a month in revenue. If we could zoom in right here, 50,000 in the month of November. And again, this is only 5 months later. So again, like if you have a successful business and you just need more funding and more access to money, this could be the thing that propels your business a lot forward. You know what I mean? So if we look a little further, so less than 18 months from June 2024 to December 2025, less than 18 months later, he was able to scale to 150,000 a month in revenue. If we zoom into this screenshot, he has an 8K day here, 7.5K day, and a 50K week. And he was, this is in December. He was actually able to do around 150K in revenue in December, which is massive again, because just 18 months ago, he was only doing 7,000 a month in revenue, and he more than 20x it to 150K in a single month, which is incredible. If we scroll down a little bit further here, to the Chase Inc. Unlimited, this is a 0% APR credit card. He has a 23K available credit limit here. And then he has the Inc. Business Cash, which again is another 0% APR credit card. He has a 34K balance and a 1,500 credit limit. So a 36K limit here with the Chase Inc. Cash. And then one more over, he has the Amex Business Blue with a 35K limit. Credit limit 34.8. We'll round it to 35K. So he was able to get around like a little under 100,000 in 0% APR credit cards, which, as you can see, played a massive role into him scaling his business as well. All right, next we're going to talk about the exact roadmap I would follow if I was just starting over today. Maybe I'm just 18 years old again, or maybe I have no credit experience or any credit at all. So this is exactly what I would do. So first and foremost, I would probably get the Discover It credit card. There's a couple options, credit cards that you can get without any credit history, but this is personally the one I first got when I just turned 18 years old, and it's the one all my siblings got as well, just because again, they don't require a credit score to get this one, and it's a good way to start building your credit. So I would get this credit card, and then I would put monthly purchases on it every single month, whether that's just normal stuff you're paying for with your debit card already, assuming you have no credit. So whether that's gas or, food or anything you pay for monthly that you're putting on your debit card already, I would start putting it on the credit card. And then this is the 100% like biggest part, or the next two things I'm about to say. So make sure you're paying attention. You need to pay it off monthly, every single month in full. You want to make sure you're paying it off in full at the end of each month. Your payment history is the biggest portion and the biggest factor of your credit score and how it's determined. So you got to make sure you pay it off in full every single month so it doesn't hurt your credit when you finally get your credit score, right? The next most important thing is you want to keep that utilization under 30%. So what does that mean? If you got this card and it's a $1,000 limit, you need to make sure you're never putting more than $300 on it, because when that statement closes, that utilization needs to be 30% or lower to not affect or like negatively drag down your credit score. So you don't really want to put 500 on it, 800 or 1,000. You might have a $1,000 limit, and you might pay it off in full at the end of the billing cycle. But when the statement closes, which is typically a little bit before the due date, it's going to report how much money you owe and how much you put on that credit card. You never want to put more than 30% down on that credit card, especially because it's a personal credit card. It's not a business credit card. The business credit cards don't report utilizations. The personal card does. So if you're using over 30% of utilization or usage on that credit card, it's going to negatively impact your score. So again, first of all, biggest and most important thing, make sure you pay off those personal cards in full at the end of each month. Next, you need to keep your utilization under 30%, or else anything more is going to negatively impact your credit score. Ideally, you want to stay in that 10 to 20, percent utilization range. So again, if you have $1,000 credit limit, you don't really want to spend more than $100 to $200 on that, if possible. Because when that statement closes, you want to keep that utilization under 30%. Next, after I did this for a couple of months, I'm putting my normal purchases on it. I'm paying it off in full every single month. I'm keeping my utilization under 30%. Next, assuming I already have a business, I would set up my LLC. I would make sure my business is profitable and growing, and I, have a proven model. And then I would start using 0% APR credit cards to scale further. So let's just take my inventory-based business, Amazon, for example. Again, if I was just trying to get into credit and I needed more money, like, maybe I'm doing 50K a month in revenue and I'm making 10K profit, but I want to make more. I have products to buy. I have things I know I need to do. The only limiting factor for me is the access to funding, which this is like my real world example. This is exactly what the issue was for me. I needed more money to go buy more products that I knew could make me even more money over time. So that's exactly when I stepped in and utilized the 0% APR credit card, and I would do it again if I had to, and I was starting off with no credit all over again. And then the biggest part of this right hand section is you want to make sure you're taking advantage of these 0% APR credit cards, right? You don't have to pay them off in full every month, but you still need to stay vigilant and scale. So by staying vigilant, I mean don't put like restaurant bills or don't put like any like thing that's not directly helping you make more money onto the credit cards. At least this would be the roadmap I follow. The only thing I was super strict on myself for it, the only thing I put on these credit cards was inventory, because inventory directly made me more money, especially if I was buying profitable inventory. That makes me more money. I take those payouts from Amazon. I would pay off the card and I would just keep scaling and scaling and scaling. But again, you need to stay vigilant. Just because you have a 100K limit or whatever doesn't mean you need to spend it all in one shot. And you still need to do the things that made that your business profitable and the reason it was able to grow. You don't want to go buy a Rolex or whatever, obviously, right? You want to do more of the things that were helping you scale. So that's just a good message I want to pass on to you guys. Like I said, I was super strict with just buying inventory because I was directly making me more money and getting me the payouts to pay off these cards at the end of the 12 to 21 month cycle. So hopefully that was helpful. Let's move on to the next section. Okay, so now that we have a bunch of the basics out of the way, let's get into the 5 best business credit cards in my personal opinion. So the first one is actually one we just talked about recently, is the Chase Business Premier. This is a 2% unlimited cashback credit card and 2.5% cashback on purchases over $5,000. So let's say you get a $100,000 credit limit for this credit card and you spend it all, you'll get $2,000 in cash back. I believe it does have an annual fee, but it's pretty small in comparison to like some of the Amex and the other credit card fees. So I think it's 100% worth it, especially if you're in a cash heavy spending business. So like an inventory based business like Amazon FBA, like I'm in. And this credit card is amazing just because you get 2% back, like I mentioned, on all your spending, and it's directly cash back. You can send it to yourself via like ACH or whatever every single month. And it's one of my favorite credit cards of all time because we have a lot of purchases over $5,000 when we're buying inventory. So we really get like 2.5% cash back. So it's amazing. And it's honestly one of my favorites. And then this is like in no particular order either. But next would be the Capital One Spark Business Card. This is a no preset spending limit and it's unlimited 2% cash back, similar to the Chase Business Premier card. The only difference is this one has no preset spending limit. So it'll learn your spending habits. So if you're spending 50K a month, they'll give you roughly that limit. But if you're, spending 100, 150K every single month and you're paying it off in full at the end of each month, they might, I know people with a 250, 300K credit limit or even more on this credit card. So it's, another great one in my personal opinion. Next, we have another credit card we talked about already, but this is the Chase Business Cash, and we can actually do these two together. The Chase Business Cash and the Chase Business Unlimited. These are the two 0% APR credit cards Chase actually offers. They both have no annual fee, which is great, and they both have intro offers of 0% APR. So this is amazing. Again, no annual fee, and then a 0% intro offer for 12 months. And they're actually pretty friendly with limits if you know what you're doing and you optimize your profile correctly. So these are honestly some of my favorite cards because the 0% interest, like I showed you guys, could be monumental growth for your business. And there's no annual fee in comparison to the other 3 on this list. I believe all 3 of these have, or these 3 outside ones, the Chase Inc. Premier, the Capital One, Spark 2%, and then the next one I'm about to talk about is the Amex Platinum. I believe all 3 of these have annual fees and they're 0% APR. So honestly, it's, some of the better beginner-friendly credit cards. But the last one on the list is one of my favorites as well. Despite it having an $895 annual fee, which is pretty heavy, to be honest, like that's probably the most expensive fee I've seen. It's very, very, very good for flights. So if you do a lot of traveling for your business, I personally do, between going back and forth from, Philly to Miami. I have a lot of friends out in Miami, or going to conferences in Seattle like I did last year, or New York, or Boston, or Miami, or Austin, or wherever you got to go. If you take a lot of flights, this credit card is great because it has no preset spending limit. So it could be a heavy hitter for you and you can put a lot of purchases on it and get a lot of points. So you can go, convert those points into free flights. And then another big pro that I don't know if a lot of people know about or not, but it actually gives you a 40% rebate on like whatever you spend your points on flights. So let's say you take a flight from Philly to Miami and it's 100,000 points. If you go through the Amex portal using the platinum card, that 100,000 point flight will actually be only 60,000. So like that's why I like this card, because I fly a lot. I've flown over 10 times last year and already 4 times this year. Like it's amazing for me and how I utilize my points because of that rebate and because it's a heavy hitter and allows me to spend a lot of money. So hopefully that was helpful for you guys. Okay, so now we're up to the fun stuff. This is the travel hacking. So not only do these credit cards help you scale your business, they've also allowed me to travel for free for the last 2 years, completely for free with flights and then stays as well. So if we zoom in here, this first picture is in Nikki Beach in Miami. Miami is one of my favorite places to go. I have a lot of friends out there. A lot of business gets done there, and it's overall a great time. I flew here first class for New Year's. I stayed here, stayed in Miami for completely free. And this is the beach we went to there, right? And then Seattle, I go to Seattle in September for an Amazon event, Amazon Accelerate. I took a flight here completely for free with my points. And this is actually a first class flight to Miami that I took completely off points. This is in Orlando. I visited my brother's house, flew here as well. This is a screenshot of 550K Amex points that I typically, the game here is you want to use your Amex points for flights with it through the Amex travel portal, or if you want to transfer to different portals to get, a better conversion and a better like use of your points. So I typically either go through the Amex portal, or you can, do points transfers if you can figure out how to get a better use of your points. But I typically just go through the Amex portal. Here is Seattle again. This is in September for the Amazon Accelerate event. Here I stayed in New York in Park Hyatt across the street from Central Park. And then this hotel is around $1,500 a night. And I stayed there for 4 nights. I got it completely free with my Chase credit card. Like I was mentioning earlier, I have the World of Hyatt card. So I was able to just book a stay. And then because I am a globalist with the Chase credit card, I was able to upgrade my suite completely for free by just giving them a phone call. And I was able to stay in a $1,500 a night hotel for 4 nights, like I said, for completely free just off my Amex points, which was pretty cool. Over here we have Miami again. I actually went to Miami like 5 or 6 times last year. It's one of my favorite places to go. Like I mentioned, I have a lot of friends here. The weather's great, and it's a good escape from Philly or PA where I'm at now when it gets colder out. This is another first class flight. This is to Miami again, I believe. This is a photo with me and some other Amazon sellers in Seattle. This is my buddy Steven, Millie, and then Bill, which is the GOAT. I got to meet up with a bunch of other business owners in Seattle, and I flew here for free off the points. Then we have another first class flight. This is from Philly to Boston. I was just visiting some of my business friends there. Here's another picture of Miami from my friend's sick apartment. This is New York for the weekend of February. And like I said, this is a $1,500 a night apartment across the street from Central Park, which was super sick to stay at. And then that same apartment or the same hotel, they have complimentary free breakfast, which I got room service. And then that was one of the breakfasts I had. And like I said, it was completely for free with my points and the stay and the status of that credit card. And then this is Miami too. This is typically the hotel I stay in, or one of the hotels I stay in. And we're here in just like the hot tub with a nice view. Traveling is one of my favorite things to do. And these credit cards were tremendous for my business because not only did it help me scale the business with these credit cards and the limits and the 0% APR cards, but it also allowed me to travel for free across the U.S. And I'm actually going to Aruba the day after I'm filming this. So I'm filming this on Wednesday, April 29th. I'll be in Aruba with a bunch of other sellers, Amazon sellers, on April 30th. And I booked that flight completely for free with points. So if I were to make a video showing you exact strategies, tips and tricks and all that stuff, I'm showing you exactly how to travel hack, that would be like a 100-page PDF or a very long video, which I will end up making for you guys. But the way a lot of these guys do the travel hacking and how I do it as well is they just have high spending businesses. So I have to put a lot of money on my credit cards every single month that I pay off at the end of every single month for inventory, because I'm scaling my business aggressively. Like I mentioned, we're doing 400K a month in revenue. I want that to be upwards of like $1 million a month in revenue by ideally the end of this year. So we're just gonna have to continue, spending money on credit cards over and over and over and over, because it's an inventory heavy based business and a cash heavy based business. So we rack up points. And then for the game I was telling you guys about, the way you're supposed to do it is Chase. You're supposed to use your Chase points towards stays, and then you're supposed to use your Amex points towards flights. That's like the best way it works out for maximizing your credit card points. But like I mentioned, as promised, I'm going to make a video in the future where I'll drop a free PDF or something showing you guys exactly how to, credit card hack and travel for free. So it just comes down to, using those credit cards effectively, spending a lot of money on them, and then cashing out those points and redeeming them in the best way possible, which I mentioned Amex is typically the best for travel, or not travel, for flights, sorry. And then Chase typically works out the best for stays. And then in terms of like, okay, maybe you don't have a, high spending business, that's okay, because there's also different ways to maximize these credit card points with sign up bonuses like that. For example, if you sign up for the Amex Gold, it might be 200,000 in sign up bonus that you can go redeem for, 2 or 3 first class flights, depending on how far you're going, or maybe like roughly probably 5 or 6 or 7, normal domestic economy flights. It just depends on where you're going and how you're redeeming them. But the real way, like I'm showing you guys and telling you guys how I'm doing it, it's basically just a cash heavy spending business like I have, or the other way people are doing it if they don't like put a lot of money on the credit cards, but they still want to take advantage of the travel hacking and traveling for free. It's typically the sign up bonuses where you might get the Amex Gold or the Amex Platinum, where they give you, for example, I don't know if this is the intro offer or not, but like 200,000 points for spending 10K in your first 6 months. A lot of businesses can do that, especially if you're in an inventory based business, or if you're at scale. Like I said, you're already a profitable business owner, or a business owner with decent credit if you're watching this video. So if you're able to put that money on the credit card, you're going to be able to get those 200,000 points, which translates into free flights, and then the Chase cards translate into free stays. So that's how I'm able to do it. And like I mentioned again, I'll just reiterate, because I know there's going to be some questions or comments or somebody hitting me up saying, you want a travel hacking guide? Don't worry, it's coming 100%. I'm going to show you exactly how I was able to travel for free for the last 2 years. So let's move on. Okay, so the next section I'm going to talk about was my biggest mistakes when I was going about this entire credit thing. I was an 18, 19-year-old kid, and I obviously know a lot more now, have gone through this process myself and, scaling the business. So I want to share with you guys some of the biggest mistakes I made when I was first getting these cards. So this section I really want you to pay attention to. These are my 4 biggest mistakes I made when I was starting. Every single one of them cost me real money and real time. Obviously, if I was able to get more funding or, optimize my profile a little bit better, I probably would have been able to get even more 0% APR credit cards, or maybe even way more than 385K in limits, just to, touch up my profile. Or if I knew 1 or 2 more tips or tricks, I probably could have had more funding, which would have made me more money. And again, this cost me real time. So I want you guys to pay attention. And the reason I'm covering this now is because if you try to do this on your own without knowing what to look out for, and you're going to make at least one of these mistakes, or probably more. So let's just go through them. I want you guys to learn from my mistakes, and we can go through that. So my biggest mistake, and honestly, I've said this on so many podcasts I've went on talking about Amazon, I've tweeted about it a bunch. My biggest mistake was not taking advantage earlier. I missed out on huge money making opportunity windows. So for example, when I was 16, 17 years old, I started sneaker reselling. I was selling sneakers during the COVID era on StockX and Go, when things were really booming. I was a full cash based business at that point too. I only used what money was in my my checkings account. I was using my debit card. So not only did I miss out on all those credit card points and rewards and free travel and everything, I missed out on the opportunity to leverage a system that was already working to make even more money. I know millionaires who have came out of that business model during that COVID era, where I was telling you where people are just buying from normal retailers, selling on StockX to Go. I made a fair chunk of money. I made 6 figures from that. However, I do know people who are leveraging and, were a little bit more business savvy than me, who knew about stuff like this, who were able to, profit 7 figures in that 2 or 3 year period, which is huge and good for them. And I wish I took advantage of what I'm telling you guys now. So if you're on the fence, if you need more funding, if you have a profitable business or whatever, I wouldn't hesitate to go ahead and get this rolling for you. But another mistake I made is I didn't talk to any knowledgeable people, and I decided to do it on my own. This cost me 24 months of bootstrapping. Like I told you, like the sneaker reselling business plus Amazon, I was just using my checking account, my debit card, and I, was just running it cash. So because I didn't talk to enough people, I didn't even know business credit really existed. I didn't know what limits came with it. I didn't know what rewards came with it. I didn't even know what limits I could get with it, right? I didn't use any business credit in my business for all of that sneaker reselling business, and then for 9 months into Amazon. And then additional to that, when I did finally figure out what was going on and that there's business credit to be had, there's 0% APR credit cards and all that stuff, I didn't consult anyone and I didn't talk to anyone who was knowledgeable in this, and I just decided to apply on my own. And I didn't nearly get the limits I probably should have with my credit score and my business history and everything. And as you can see here, Capital One, this is a 0% APR credit card. I only have around a 10K limit on this credit card. So like I said, I probably should have been able to get more. Like I shown you guys, like I have a 10K limit on my Amex Blue business, and then I have a 10K limit on my Capital One Spark business card. And then, like I showed you, my coaching student, who I showed a whole year and a half later, when I knew what I was doing at that point, rather than going through it blindly, we were able to get him 35K in credit card limits, which helped him scale even faster than I did. But yeah, this is the 10K limit business card I was telling you about, the Amex Blue business. But the other issue I had was I was applying with no real strategy. I had no strategy. I had zero. I just heard it from Twitter and went to go apply to a few different credit cards, and I had no idea. I just heard about business credit. It could be helpful for my business, and I just started applying because I had a decent credit score. I didn't optimize my profile. I didn't pay down my credit cards. I didn't do anything to make me look more attractive to the banks. I was just applying because I was eager to get money and scale my business, as any 18, 19-year-old kid would do. And at the end of it, for my first funding round, I only ended up getting around 50,000 and 0% APR credit cards between the Chase Inc. Unlimited, which was around 30K, 28.5K, and then 10K on the Business Cash, and then I got 10K on the Capital One. So right around 50K, when I probably should have got 150K because I had over a 720 credit score from building up my credit for so long. And paying it off in full on the personal side. And I could have done a lot more things to optimize my profile. And if I knew what I knew now, looking back on it, I should have got 3x the limits at probably 150K instead of 50K. So you want to, like I'm mentioning to you guys, I wish I took advantage earlier. I wish I talked to people who knew what they were doing. And even if you don't want to talk to people who know what they're doing, or an expert or whatever, that's fine. Do some research on your own or watch some of my upcoming videos that I'm going to start dropping. But you at least want to get a strategy in place so you can, maximize the limits you're going to go ahead and, start getting. And then the last mistake I made, I wasn't being patient at all. I was an 18, 19-year-old kid. I was eager to scale up my business and get as much funding as possible to buy more inventory, to scale up my revenue, to make more profits, right? But in turn, I was scaling too quickly, and I was, instead of long-term building, and it costed me inquiries, and I got no additional funding. So what I'm trying to say here, and the mistake I made, was I was applying too quickly. And if you know anything about business credit cards, if you don't, no worries, I'm going to fill you in here. Some of these credit cards, Chase, for example, are super strict about you getting more than one credit card in a 30-day period. So you can get a credit card, but I think they only let you get 2 credit cards in a 30-day period, and you can't get more than 3 in I believe it's a 90-day period or something like that, where they don't let you apply back to back to back to back on that many credit cards, which it just costs you an inquiry because they run your credit, but you're not going to get the credit card because they're going to, decline you because you're applying for too many credit cards in a short period of time. And then another reason why I wasn't being patient, I know this was a big mistake as well, is you're supposed to, obviously you want your cards paid down before you apply, just to look more attractive to the bank. Like, let's say you have 100K in credit limits with Chase and all your cards are maxed out. Obviously, they're not going to want to give you more money. But if you have 100K in limits with Chase, you're paying off your cards in full every single month. You might only have 10, 20K utilization, so 10, 20% usage on those credit cards. Obviously, you're going to look a lot more trustworthy in their eyes when they're running your reports and they're doing their running their system to determine if you're going to get approved or not for a credit card. So I didn't know any of this. I wasn't being patient. I was super eager to scale. So I hope these 4 lessons that I just shared with you, be patient, apply with a strategy, take advantage as soon as possible, and then talk to people, whether that's your friends, business owners, or anyone you know that's an expert. I would at least talk to them and get some advice from them as well, so you don't make the same mistakes I made. Because again, this cost me real money and this cost me real time. Knowing what I know now, if I were to go back and do it in 2020, 2021 during the COVID era, I definitely would have made way more money and would have capitalized a lot heavier. So just learn from my mistakes, and let's get into the last section of this video. Thank you so much for sticking to the end of this video. And if you'd rather skip the trial and error process and you want us to handle the entire funding process for you, here's my offer I have for you. So our offer is we will help you get approved for between 50 to 250K in 0% APR business funding. We'll help you optimize your personal and business credit profile before applying. We'll help you pick the right cards in order to maximize your approval odds and limits. We'll help you stack across multiple lenders, Chase, Amex, Capital One, etc. We'll help you avoid mistakes that tank approval, timing, inquiries, utilization. Those are some of the mistakes I was sharing with you in the last slide. We'll make sure you don't make those so you have the best limits possible and the best chances at approval. And then I'll also throw in a guide to help you maximize travel hacking and rewards. And I'll show you exactly how I was able to travel the last 2 years for completely free stays, and then free first class flights over the last few years. I'll throw that in as well. And then what is my proof that this even works? Like I've shown you in this entire free course, I've personally gotten myself $385K in business funding that, like I showed you, 20x my own business at the age of 21 years old. And I've also gotten my coaching student close to 100K and 0% APR, which also helped 20x his business. And then here's some screenshots below that. Some of these I showed you already, but 8,000 in revenue in the last 7 days is where I started without business funding. We grew up to 162K in a single week in revenue, 28.5K. Chase Inc. Business unlimited credit limit. Coaching student screenshot here with 36K in 0% APR cards on the Chase Inc. Business Cash. This is my screenshot with one of the Chase Inc. cards, 28K and 0% APR. And then this one right here is my coaching student screenshot as well, 35K right here, boom, in Amex Business Blue Plus card. So if you're a business owner and you have over a 700 credit score and you could use the 50 to 250K of 0% interest credit cards to help scale your operations and your business, then book a free call with me with the link in the description. We'll jump on a call. We'll go through your credit profile. We'll go through your needs, and we'll talk a little bit about your business to see if I can help you. And like I said, if you're a business owner with over 700 in credit score and you need access to some of this funding, and that's the reason you went through this free course, be sure to book a call with me below, and I'll see if I can help you. Thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to subscribe, and I'll be dropping a lot more bangers like this for you guys in the future. Thank you.